Hey tribe, welcome to Power Pantaloons. My name is Tonya. I am your holistic wellness specialist, and today we have with us Kimberly Tocco. She is the first, and as far as I know, the only metaphysical real estate agent or broker
Agent,
or
yeah.
both
In Arizona,
agent.
it's an agent, yes.
So, what is that?
Exactly. So a lot of the times when someone hears the word metaphysical, they automatically think of like Doctor Who and time shifts and crazy outworldly things. So they're like, uh, what do you like? Just imagine a house, Kimberly? What does that mean? So in the appreciation of God and gratitude, we also have to understand science. God is the great creator, and the great creator has a scientific method, a pattern. So when we think of metaphysics, we're thinking of the generosity of the creator. What I, on the inside, through my gifts and through my experience, can give a family or an individual, especially one who has been through hardships, a new foundation in. A lot of people find themselves wanting to get out of the stagnancy that they're stuck in, or worst case scenario, they're in a bad situation and they need this money in order to get out and shift and change. That's not transactional. That is
No,
not
it's spiritual.
transactional.
It's spiritual. uh Putting yourself in places resonate, they have energy, and it does, it absolutely starts with your mindset. And if you can visualize it, you can experience it, like you can live it.
Yes. And I'll give you an example of even why I started doing this and how I began to build on this new concept. So it's been 14 years now. But in 2011, my 13-year-old son, after an argument at breakfast, walked upstairs and shot himself. And he was a 6'1" pitcher who could pitch at 80 miles an hour, straight A student, most popular kid in school, the balanced kid, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the aftermath of that is horrific. And we don't even need to get into that because I'm sure your listeners can imagine just there is no worse place. There's no worse
No,
place.
no parent should ever have to outlive their children,
Yes.
and they certainly shouldn't have to witness that.
Hold them while they die. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
I can't even imagine.
so what happened obviously immediately is I couldn't go back to that house. You know, there was a series of things that happened. And luckily we had a lot of friends and firefighters and it took a month, but they came together and they helped us move to another rental, right? But it wasn't much because I wasn't going to go back to work. At the time, we had twin 4-year-olds, one of them having autism, therapies 4 times a week. My oldest boy, who was bipolar, now missing his brother, who was only 12 months apart, same grade.
Yeah.
And there's no way. And then myself, like I still had to somewhat be there, at least as a mother. And, my husband being a firefighter was gone. So we found ourselves in this dark, dingy rental because it was all we could afford in the areas that my boy needed to go to school in. We had the one income, but again, all these other children. And 2 years goes by. And I'm sitting there, January 2013, I'm sitting there on the couch with my probably fourth glass of wine
Mm.
and same frickin' TV program. And I decide, I hear this voice that says, Mom, Mom, enough, Mom, enough of the pity party, Mom. And I took assessment and I looked around and I saw my twins, now 5. They were happy, they were playing. And I looked at my oldest boy. He wasn't doing great, but he was doing better than me. But it was when I looked at my husband. He was thin, he was pale, but he was looking at me like I was going to break. And I said, I can't. I have to make a choice. I'm going to become this broken woman in a corner drinking every night and just barely thriving because she's supposed to. Or I'm going to find a way to choose life again. We'd had a bankruptcy, we'd had a short sale. but I knew we had to get out of that house. There was something about the foundation that was also making us sick. So I found a way to get an extenuating circumstance loan. No one had ever did one. But I got through all the approval. However, you still have to get to the closing table. You still have to convince a seller that, this weird loan is going to close. And I couldn't find a real estate agent to help me. After 2 months, I got approved for the loan, but we couldn't find an agent to help us. And I also needed a little kickback from their commission from that agent. It had to be someone I knew that would understand the story because we still didn't quite have enough for closing costs, right?
Yeah.
So I took March 2013, I took a change jar, a tax return money. I got through real estate school in 18 days. And
Oh my
45 days later, June 1st, we closed on that home and it was ours. And when I saw the twins running in the natural light that that other house didn't have, and my oldest boy running from room to room, so excited to pick out his room, and then I gave those keys to my husband. And he had his joy again. He had his feet again. He had a place to put his family in and secure them that was ours again. And that's when I knew what was missing. And I've been building on that ever since. And I've made six figures ever since. And I've helped well over 450 families and given back over $400,000 of my own commission to make that happen for other people.
That's amazing. Uh, we met through the knowing Dr. Coach Stormy Wellington,
I
and
remember the day I met you. You had
we
body butter, and it was at the 10X Growth Con,
it
and it
it
was with
absolutely
Sheila.
was. It
I
absolutely
remember.
was. And I don't know where I was going to go with this, but community. Yes, community, right?
Yes.
And Dr. Wellington has built a beautiful community with Girl Hold My Hand, and I'll make
Yes.
sure the link for that is in the notes. But where I want to go with that is when you are going through,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Having the right support network
Mm.
literally is everything, whether it is the loss of a child, or it is a cancer diagnosis, or it is whatever, right? Like
100%.
um we all end up with some form of
Sledgehammer.
yes, yes. And so I like, for me, when I was diagnosed with a carcinosarcoma of the uterus back in 2007, and my oncologist looked at me and said, "You have a 5% chance of survival." And I said to
Mm.
him, "Absolutely not. Do not speak that shit over my life."
Right.
I know that's exactly what I said to him. And I said, "I'd love to know what your treatment plan is." And he was like, "Surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation." I said, "That's wonderful, but we are also going to do what I affectionately call witchy woo-woo stuff:
Nice.
Reiki, aromatherapy,
Yes.
grounding, like this guy.
Yes.
I got him round 2 of chemo, and he was able to come into places that other people couldn't be with me. Like,
Yes.
nobody else can be in the room while you're being radiated, like that,
Hmm.
for their safety, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, so one of the things that I had to do after being, sat down and told that I was allowed to have my pity party for a hot second, and then I had to go on with the business of kicking cancer's ass,
Right.
was coming to an understanding of my mindset, right?
Mm.
And for me, every day, I would visualize that I was putting on Wonder Woman's underwear, because
That's
because
awesome.
Wonder Woman doesn't die. And that's
Right.
why it's called Power Pantaloons, because I put on
Oh,
magic underwear.
like
Like,
that. Yeah.
and it was the actively deciding to choose to live every day,
Yeah.
because it's a choice.
It is a
When
choice.
when you go through something like that, and then
Hmm.
you have day after day of really invasive treatment, and do you know what a rescue drug is?
So something like, is it Narcan that they use, that type of thing?
So my chemotherapy was so toxic, I had to actually go inpatient, because they would
Mm.
give me a rescue drug before, during, and after the chemotherapy,
Right.
I,
To keep you
I
alive.
to keep me alive, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like rescue drug. I had never heard of it. And I don't see a lot of people having to deal with that anymore.
Right.
And I'm hoping that advancements have gotten us to a spot where that's not really relevant anymore. But I don't necessarily know if I believe that, because 18 years ago when I was diagnosed, according to the American Cancer Society, it was 1 in every 3 would be diagnosed with some kind of cancer before you die.
Sure.
And now that number is 1 in 2. That's not the correct direction as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
when you look and you see who's being diagnosed and the faces keep getting younger and younger and younger, you're like, what is going on?
Well, there is a correlation, right? So even today, I saw a video, and this is a worldwide statistic, but worldwide, men only. There's one that commits suicide every 59 seconds. One every 59 seconds. Those are the ones that complete the act. Can you imagine the number of attempts? And it is
I,
quickly becoming the number one killer of men. So the reason why I say this is because of the conditions of the planet and the stress and the hardships is how disease grows. Everything that the traumas that everyone is going through, but also, we all know there's a grand awakening occurring. Triggered for a lot of people, triggered in 2020. There are others there were other trigger moments, that sort of thing. But for the most part, the frequency. Everything is energy. Energy is everything. Everything is a vibration. Everything is a frequency. The frequency has been shifting on the planet. And as
yes.
the frequency shifts and the DNA is not shifting with the frequency, the more disease that they will grow into and the more stuck in that reality of what is occurring on the planet. So that's a big thing to do with it. Unfortunately, not everyone is going to be triggered into the knowing of that. And all we can be is the ripple effect. But we're in the meat of it now. We're going to see a lot of this continuing for the next little while.
Yeah. Definitely. And a lot of light workers are really coming into
Mhm.
um
Because
helping
how
the
did you
the
make it? How did you beat your cancer? It wasn't, of course, you had to use some modern technologies to start kicking its butt, but in reality, it wasn't that you're sitting here alive. It wasn't that at all.
I, I had the right support network. I had the right medical team. I incorporated enough mind, body, spirit principles, but
Yes.
I 1,000% credit the visualization of Wonder Woman's underwear every day as 95% of the reason why I'm still here.
Yeah. You
Uh,
did it. You did it through your belief, through your faith. What is it Yeshua says? It was not me that healed you, it was your faith.
yeah, it's whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And
Mm-hmm.
you can
Yes.
credit that to Roosevelt, you can credit that to Confucius. I'm sure it's been said because it's
Yep.
it's it's it's, it's a universal truth.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe it, that's how it's going to go. I have absolutely witnessed people I love being given diagnosed and given expiration dates and then laying down and dying. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it boggles my mind to see it breaks my heart to see
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much you can do for other people. They have to want to do the work. And
Well,
one of the
and I just want to say real quick to those listening, this does not mean that everyone through thinking, just visualizing that they're going to heal alone. That this is just a tiny piece of it, really, but it's a piece that has to stay consistent. Because if it doesn't, if it falls off, then so do you. So,
absolutely right, like you need all of the pieces to the
Mhm.
puzzle. That is a
Yes,
key component, and
yes,
what works for somebody isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else. And I
right.
absolutely believe that you should do what your oncologist is telling you to do
Yes,
unless you are vehemently like your body is telling you that it's the wrong thing. And then what I recommend that you do is go get three more opinions from other qualified medical
excellent.
practitioners, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
um, I'm not asking you to go out and sit in the grass and smell flowers and think
Right. Me
yourself into
neither.
wellness. That's not what this is about at all. Thank you for
Right.
bringing that up, Kimberly. Um, but I do think those things are absolutely part of the puzzle that makes up your holistic
Yes,
whole wellness.
absolutely.
You do need to add a little bit of woo and magic into
Hmm.
your allopathic medicine. Like
Yes.
I had the surgery. They removed over 10 pounds of cancer from my body.
Oh my good God, woman. Wow. Wow.
But I did not have a lot of symptoms. And when I talk about listening to what your body is telling you, and especially as women, we're so bad about
Hmm.
paying attention to the cues of our body and putting the needs of everybody else before we put the needs of ourselves. You
Yes.
got to stop doing that. You cannot give from an empty cup, and you should only be giving what is overflowing from your full cup.
Yes.
You should be so abundant in stuff that you have plenty to give. You cannot give little droplets from an empty cup. That's just not how that works, because then everybody is depleted. Um, I had a ooh squirrel, so I'm not sure where I was going, but
But we were talking about community and the importance, especially, I mean, when it comes down to it. Uh, Sorry, my son's home from wrestling, so the dog was making a noise. So when it comes down to it, I spent the majority, one second. I don't know if you're going to edit this.
no, I don't hear it. Like
Okay,
it's
good.
very
Okay.
little, very
So
little.
when it comes down to it, though, I spent the majority of the first part of my journey really not finding a place. It's very hard to find a place that is uplifting when you've lost a child in that aspect. So, and I would go through this coach and that BNI, and it came down to the friends I started to make as I was going to Metaphysical University and realizing the different caliber of people. And then, yeah, running into Stormy Wellington, man, and the Girl Hold My Hand community. It 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 feels like family. The arguments, the love, but it's all there. It's all there.
It is that reminds me like when I was going through it, I had one of my very good friends at the time was a former nurse, and she saw the writing on the wall, and she went with me to that doctor appointment when I was told that I had cancer, and
Mm,
that is a trauma all in itself. But one
yeah.
of the things that we try to do, the Gilda's Club, right?
Mm,
It's an organization that helps survivors, and you can go and meet other individuals that are surviving the same kind of cancer that you're diagnosed with. And we went to a couple of them, and this was just my
right.
experience, right? But everybody in there was so wallowing in their
Yes.
diagnosis. And I was
Yes.
like, so what are we doing? Like, how are we handling it? What are we doing?
Exactly.
What are we doing to supplement it? Like, how are we moving forward? And nobody, like, I clearly was speaking Swahili or something because they were not hearing anything I was saying. And I was like, I turned to my friend and I was like, nope, we're out of here. I cannot put
I
myself in this environment because
I
it will
think
not allow me to grow.
I think what happens when we're hit with huge sledgehammers like that, regardless of, whether it's a child and cancer or, car accident, whatever that may be, at one point we're sitting in the stagnancy of, okay, I don't want to sit back here in my suffering, but I don't have any clue who I am on this side of suffering. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to continue to tell my story over and over again because at least here in this group, that's what we're doing. And I like this stagnancy. That's what it is. It takes a
I
lot of courage to step out of that and not be
I
that.
Yes, right. Like I know. And you can only You have to do what's the absolute best for you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And and at that moment, I didn't have the spoons, the cup, the water, the whatever to also help other people because
Right.
I was completely in dealing with my own 10
As
pounds
you
of
should
cancer.
be, as you should be. I mean, that's the other thing, people, it's like you almost innately knew right away that number one, that you can't save anybody.
No.
Because right now, you're the one needing saving. And
Yep.
number two, you knew you couldn't step into something that was just going to be like, that's not life speaking. And
No.
we know who speaks life now, don't we?
Yes. Yes. And you know, choosing to do the alternative to listen to what my intuition told me and to find the Reiki practitioners and then to find the aromatherapist and the figure out which flower essences I needed to create what I called my
Yes.
own little chemotherapy blend
Love it. Love
and
it.
you know, walking barefoot on the ground and dancing under the moon and all of
Yes.
the I, but like you have to also feel the spiritual need, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
whether that is church or
Yeah.
ritual or temple or
Or all
whatever
of
it
it.
is. Yes, or all of it,
Or
right?
all of
Like
it.
having, you know, a lot of people talk about the that being a very big crisis of faith, right? And how
Mhm.
can you still believe in the divinity when you go through something like that? And I
Yes.
think that all comes back to your mindset. Like, are you coming at it with a why me um,
Mhm.
perspective instead of maybe a why not me? Like,
Right. Right.
um,
But that doesn't always hit right away. And
no,
I will say that, especially losing a child, I will say it is more common to be very angry at God, very angry at God. So that why me is we're also allowed to feel that, right?
absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure you did the
absolutely.
same thing. Like there is a part we have to admit we're not perfect and we need someone to blame in those moments. And a lot of the times it can come down to God, you know, and that's part of re-examining what our faith is as well.
Yes. And then there is the accountability portion. At some
Yeah.
point, you have to take accountability for your actions or
Mhm.
inactions that led you to where you are. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you deserved what happened. That's not what I'm
No.
saying at all. But as an adult, you have to take accountability for why you ended up there and
Right.
what healing you did not do that
Yep.
landed you there.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are just not willing to do that.
That takes acceptance. And
It,
acceptance,
it,
and on one hand, acceptance can be drilled into someone's head that you have to accept regardless, or acceptance can be a place that you hope to get to someday.
yeah,
That's the difference.
you know,
But it
forgiving
has to
yourself.
happen. It has to
Yeah,
happen.
yes, like we talked a little while ago about why I'm still here. Well,
Yes.
why I'm still here is because
There you go.
I accepted my
Yep.
responsibility and I took accountability for the things that I did or did not do.
Right.
I my dis-ease, I was assaulted. The first time I was assaulted, I was 5 and I
Yeah.
ended up with gonorrhea. Um, and once they ruled out my birth
Mm.
father, they stopped looking. Right.
Right.
This was the early 70s,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um, and so there was no,
Oh, look what happened to the Menendez brothers. Like, again, talk about brushing things under the rug as acceptable back then. My God.
yeah, yeah. So not working through the trauma of that fast enough,
Hmm.
I believe, was a factor in the reason I had uterine cancer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, when we have trapped energies, especially traumas as children, they're still there. We've just got a cover over them, right? We've covered them. And that cover, I'm just giving kind of a verbal visual, that cover can become a disease or
Yeah.
disease. And, there's a lot of talk about go back to that trauma and pull it up. And once you pull it up and release it, there may be some more. And I feel like we're reaching a stage of knowing that we really don't have to work that deeply. What we have to do is, sure, if you want to remember it, you want to go back there and you want to dissect it and go through it, you feel like you need to, that's good. But accept that it's already happened. Again, that acceptance. When we can reach the part when we've told that story, right? And it's appropriate in certain situations, but I'm talking to thyself. When we've shown thyself that incident over and over and over again, how many more times do you need to get over it to be like, okay, yep, that happened. But that's not who I am right now. And as a matter of fact, that event helped me become this glorious being that I am right now because I am chosen. And I'm saying that from a woman whose child was taken from her, dying in her arms. I was chosen for that. I was chosen for that. And it's up to me to take the energy of that acceptance and see how I can change others with that to fulfill the reason why I was chosen or throw it away and not stepping into my purpose. And you have completely stepped into yours because you've accepted.
Yeah. Um, a couple of points on that. Like I choose to believe that we make decisions as soul beings before we incarnate the life lessons that we are
Yes,
here to
ma'am.
learn for
Yeah.
this incarnation. So
Beautiful.
we pick the things that we are to experience
Mm-hmm.
knowingly and with full acceptance of that, right?
100%.
Um,
100%.
which sometimes is a bitter pill when you're in the middle of a thing. Like, yes, I chose this. I don't remember choosing this, but I did choose
Right.
to learn these lessons. And if we don't learn it, we keep putting ourselves back in situations where we're
Correct.
forced to deal with that until we learn and grow and
Mhm.
transition to a higher vibration. That's number one. Number two, we're going to talk about Dr. Wellington for one more minute again, and you know, she does an awakening at least
Yes.
once a year, and I went to my very first one back in
Oh,
March of
that's
this year. It
right.
was my
Oh,
very
yeah.
first one. And after the event, she has said to me on more than one occasion that I look like I've lost 40 pounds. And I'm like,
You do.
I did lose 40 pounds of emotional baggage. I put that baggage down at
Mm,
the awakening and
love it.
haven't looked back about it. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? But like I
Yes.
put it down, finally put it down. And
Right.
that's why I look lighter. I mean, the perfect score, a perfect storm skin collection
I was
definitely
going to
helps.
say your
But
cheekbones, though, are a little more prominent there, girl.
well, I'm still losing some weight.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
we're down 80 pounds. And one of the things
Wow.
I didn't do when I got diagnosed was address my weight. And at my highest weight, I was 374, and I
Oh,
am now under 300 pounds. And for the
congratulations.
first
That's
time in 40
huge.
years, right?
That's huge. Oh my God. Yes.
Thank you. But y the psychological weight
Hmm.
of your traumas,
Yeah.
they're heavy.
Not to
It,
mention glorious products, because I'm sure you have
oh,
those. Yeah.
I mean, like right here, like I got the glow right here, and
There you go.
and now
The
I'm doing the
tea.
lip gloss all the time. Oh, the tea, I love the tea,
Yeah.
right? Like we could talk about that forever, right? But um, when you are starting to get yourself together, you will find the right regimen for yourself.
Yeah.
Your body intuitively knows
Hmm.
what holistic things you should be adding to your life, right? Like I built my holistic wellness blueprint. Everybody else can build their own holistic wellness
Yes.
blueprint. Um, After 18 years, I finally wrote the book. It will be coming out. I want to
Love
say
it.
September. Um, how I kick cancer's ass.
I love it. I love it. I know you've been talking about that, and the process is it's both joyful and but it's so cathartic when you finish, and especially when you finish that book, and now you're in the final probably stages of, layout, design, and then your launch. I'm very excited for you. That's beautiful.
I can't wait, right? Like I submitted all of it back to the editor and then Stormy Speaks came out and I'm like, can I have that back for a minute?
Right. No, seriously, I have had her, so I'm editing, my interview, but before I got into the interview, I had to read my books. And then I had a conversation with her. I'm just like, what? It's she's incredible. She's incredible. And she had me in tears during the interview yesterday.
I
I've
can't wait
never
to see that interview. I
it'll be
cannot
done
wait.
today. It'll be done today and we're launching tomorrow. So
All
yeah.
right. Post it everywhere so we can watch it.
Yes, yes. Tenacious Thoughts podcast for those listening. And it's also a
Say it
video.
again.
Tenacious Thoughts podcast. It's been around since 2019. It's on Apple, Spotify, all channels, and also my YouTube channel, Tenacious Angels. And you can find everything I do at kimt360.com.
And I will make sure to put all of that beautiful
Thank
information in the show
you.
notes so that you can find Kim if you're interested in following up with her or working with her in whatever way. I know that
Yes,
she does more than just real estate. I've heard
yes,
some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful meditations. Please tell
yes.
me you're going to put some of those out.
There is one on Apple,
Okay,
iTunes.
all right,
There's one there. I've
fantastic.
got another one I'm going to record, and I mean, I'm and do so many things. Yes, and I also have full therapeutic days with me, 1, 2 days at a time. If you want a whole schedule of just really reshocking the soul, I also offer tarot readings, guidance readings, past life regressions, energy healing, tuning forks, color and sound. There's many different levels that I can offer because it's all a part of why I'm the metaphysical real estate agent. So,
Right. Holistic. Yeah.
yeah,
Healing the entire soul, right?
exactly.
Spirit,
Exactly.
energetic being, however
Yeah.
you describe yourself. Yeah, all of that is super important. I love it. I
Thank you.
love it. Like, after going through my journey, right? Like forever I've been studying herbs, right? And the oncologist told me, like, he's like, I don't want you to put anything in your mouth. And I'm like, well, that's just tough. But but
Right.
I was like, why? I need to know why I can't drink herbal teas and stuff like that. And he's like, because I don't want it to counteract any of the
Right.
chemotherapy. And I understood and respected that. So we did uh um detoxifying. That's the word I'm looking
Oh,
for.
okay.
Sometimes the brain still buffers.
Oh,
That's
I'm
okay.
there. Girl, I'm in that. I'm not even gonna say the words. I'm 53. It's all I have to say. The brain's different at 53.
Yes, it is. It is. That NRG works really well. I haven't
Oh
had
my
my
God.
yet today.
Yes, every day. Oh my God, I can't even start. I'm a 5 a.m. girl every day, so I need my
I, I
energy.
I know because you're always on meditation.
Yeah.
Um, and what we're talking about right now is Dr. Wellington has a
Yes.
group called Girl Hold My Hand, and one of the benefits of being part of this community is Monday through Saturday there's an event, and Monday through Thursday there's a morning meditation. On
Yes.
Saturday it's Stretch with Dion, and on
Mhm.
Friday it's on Instagram. But having a community where you can go and meditate with other individuals that are
Yes.
working on themselves and healing themselves and
Exactly.
vibrating at higher levels,
Hmm.
um that is important to me because that is part of my healing, right? i
Absolutely.
I think it's everybody's, right? Like
Yes.
the uh
We all want to belong. We all want to belong.
yes,
We don't want to say I want to fit in. We want to just belong exactly how we are. And there is such a testament to that community because like I said last week, I'm different, man. I'm neurodivergent. I'm on the spectrum. The way I see things, the way I view things, the way I speak sometimes, I'm different. But and I struggle with it, but the community always makes sure I feel welcome, right? So, and
Yes.
that's so important in this day and age.
I I am also a mermaid unicorn, right?
Right,
Like
exactly.
I don't think there's anybody who is normal. I
Right,
we all have this like thing in our head where we look at how other people are behaving and we're like, oh, they're
right.
being normal. And they're over there like, I don't know what I'm doing in this meat suit. I'm trying to fit in. Like I think everybody goes through that, like
Absolutely.
sort of not feeling right as a
Mhm.
energetic body inside a meat suit. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, sometimes we don't
Yes,
know how to navigate, sometimes we're
yes.
like, I could just talk energetically and we wouldn't have to deal with this, it would be so much easier. And I think
And
those of
I
us
and
that,
I like to say an energetic body in a frequency in which I created to present.
oh, I love
I
that.
am not a meat suit,
I
you know,
love that.
all about the alchemy, right? So I am the epitome of what my energy wants to say. So that's how we should look at it, right?
it it is. And I think the more that we accept how we present, the
Right.
easier it is for us to be that energetic body inside that presentation.
Yeah, and it changes, right? It changes depending on how you're feeling and how deeply you're in your soul.
It does, because you can see
Mhm.
when people are in their darkness.
Oh,
you
yes. Oh, yeah.
you can definitely see that, but you could also see when people are working in their light.
Yeah.
And you know, I think a lot of that has to do with the how the eyes sparkle and represent, but
Like
it
when you look at your husband, those
yes, like when
sparkly
I look at
eyes.
my husband, oh, I yeah, so we could talk about him for a second. And like when you have a surgery that alters your
Yeah.
appearance
Yep.
as a woman,
Yep.
one of my friends put it, oh yeah, your womb tried to murder you.
Hmm.
um
Wow.
but right,
Yeah.
like that's one way of looking
It
at it.
is. It
And
is.
societal's expectations on what a woman is
Hmm.
and
Yep.
all of that, and then after going through all of the active treatment and being released back into the wild to go figure it fuck out,
Yeah. Who
and
you
then
are now.
and then having to find my path back to the divine feminine.
Right.
And
Right.
even though I don't have a womb, I'm still a woman, right?
Yeah.
Like that, your womb does not define your womanhood. But for me, that was very challenging for the first 5 years after my diagnosis and
And that
needing.
that is so relevant to acknowledge because, again, being 53 changes, that sort of thing. To think for the first time in my life that there's a possibility I couldn't produce a child, even though I have obviously no plans, there is something so relevant that's been programmed into us to make us believe we're just vessels. And losing that piece of you without having any say so whatsoever, you had no choice. And then, like you said, okay, there you go. Your womanly parts are gone. Just go pretend to be a woman again. That needs to be acknowledged. I mean, that's huge.
I and you know, and then I sit and I'm like, my alteration was an internal
Hmm.
alteration.
Hmm.
I have so much respect for the breast cancer survivors that have
Absolutely.
literal amputations
Yep.
and have to adjust and live in a world that
Again.
sexualizes us
Yeah.
since we're teeny about our boobs, right? Like,
Right. Right.
and you know and then like I have these survivor thoughts like, oh, I feel so lucky that it was uterine cancer for me. Like, what kind of world is it where I feel like grateful that
Right.
I had this kind of cancer as opposed to that kind of cancer? Like, hello, that.
Exactly.
But these are thoughts that we as survivors do have, right?
Right.
And then we also have the, I'm still alive. How
Right.
many people didn't make it and they had
Yep.
lesser forms of cancer? Like,
Right.
you can't judge anybody's path. You can't judge anybody's disease. You can't
Right.
like yeah, there really needs to be more
Acknowledging.
accommodation
Yeah.
accommodation for the after the
And the
aftercare.
acceptance. Yeah,
Yeah,
that we're still women, like it's funny and again, not at all even close to what you went through, but as we mature and those systems begin to shut down, a friend of mine explained it to a man. Imagine waking up every morning and slowly but surely your testicles are falling off. And there's nothing you can do about it. Not a damn thing.
yeah, yeah.
I think there would be a
Um,
lot more medical care out there for these
I,
types of situations.
oh, ooh, I, I the disparity between the treatment and care that
Yes.
women get compared to men
Hmm.
is a hot topic,
Crazy.
and it is. And you know I've been very fortunate most of the time, but every time I go into a doctor appointment, the first thing they want to do is tell me that I'm diabetic and have high blood pressure just because my behind is big.
Right.
Like, will you stop cursing me? Like, not you
Right.
cannot judge health by size.
No, you can't. You can't.
I
Not at
have
all.
met some very unhealthy, slender
Oh,
individuals,
very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Yeah.
and they put all kinds of nonsense into their body, but it's okay because they're 125 pounds. They're
Right.
allowed to do that. What? That
It's
doesn't make any sense.
societal norms that we are changing, especially in
Good.
that, like we said, this is the girl hold my hand group. Like we do not look at each other for what we look like. We look at each other for the contribution to each other, right?
So yeah.
And that is part of what Stormy Wellington has charged us with to hold the integrity of this community and pass it on. And listen, I think you came in just after me. We've almost been in the same at the same amount of time, but I will tell you, all of my travels, my surgery, different things that I've done in 2.5 years, I think I've only missed probably a dozen or so of the 5 a.m.s, no matter where I was at in the world. And
Yeah.
because you want them. You feel like something's missing if you don't tweak yourself and start your day with the consistency of it and not let alone the anointing and magic of our Dr. Stormy Wellington. I Black girl magic is real. You can be gifted all you want, but that shit's real.
No, it is. It absolutely is, and I absolutely concur with you. I have only missed uh a small handful.
Yeah.
The time I was in the hospital and it was just
Yeah.
not
Well,
possible, right?
we'll
Like,
allow that.
and a couple of days where I was abysmally sick, but I'm
Yeah,
very
and you've been
consistent.
everywhere. Dubai, I mean, all of it. I mean, you've caught them, I swear to God.
I put yourself where you see yourself.
Right.
Miss
That's
Sheila
right.
Woodward, right? Like she likes to say
That's
that.
right. That's right.
One of the things that I discovered, right, besides being very grateful for every day I have now, right? Before cancer, I kind of was selfish. I was kind of a butt. Um, and it took me a little while to grow into the gratitude of having that journey and being transformed. Um, but nothing is guaranteed.
No.
Not one damn thing is guaranteed. And experiences and memories with people that you love are way more important than knickknacks and
Yep.
tchotchkes and stuff you put in your shelves, right? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, you should definitely have good books, but it is way
Right.
more important to go out to dinner with the family or take the kids to
Yes.
the thing, and um
And
because
and
that's what they're going to remember.
and that those moments are different for everyone, right? Because yeah, I'm sure, especially right now, I feel like there's such a kickback. And well, my moment is when I'm standing on my yacht and I'm the. Is that really your moment? Or is your moment when you were sitting next to your buddy who just lost his wife and you were holding his hand and you were the one who was able to be like, you know what, I'm going to take you out so you can look at the ocean on my yacht. That's the difference, you know. It's not the acquisition, it's the sharing of it and sharing your abundance to heal others. I truly feel that. And maybe you're just sitting by the beach. I'm not saying you have to have a yacht, but I'm trying to explain the difference. And I think that's what we're finally feeling changing in this world.
which is a change, a positive change, right? Like
Yes.
I the internet has made it abundantly more clear, just how messy the world can be, right? And
Oh,
and
yes.
and and I keep hearing stupid things like, well, back in my day, it wasn't like this. I'm like, back in your day, you didn't have access to the information. So
Yep.
it absolutely was like this, but nobody
Yep.
talked about it.
Right.
Like, I don't think the world has gotten any worse. I think we have gotten more aware
Aware. Aware.
of
But there's always been genocide, there's always been wars, there's always been, but what we're finally feeling now is people are now aware, like you said. So the artificial intelligence has helped us become aware. And because we have been awakening since 2020, this awareness is being like, I don't want the world to be like this anymore. So you're right. Same, this has happened over and over. Resets have happened over and over again. The world is not any different than in the 70s as far as the darkness. The difference, like you said, is awareness of it. And oh shit, I gotta, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to follow
that.
your rules. I don't want to follow your religion. I don't want to follow your government. I know what I need to be sovereign, and it's none of you.
Yes.
That's the
Yep.
difference. That's the difference.
Yes. I don't need certain things to make me be moral and ethical.
Right.
If you need those things to be moral and ethical, then you're not, right? Like you should
Yeah.
have that within you. If you
You
if
have
you
no
have
idea who you are either. If
Yeah,
you have those, you got to figure it out, man. Who are you then?
yeah. We could go on and on and on,
Yeah.
but we've been talking almost an hour already, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But
Part
I
two.
do I do want to thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining us today. And I will make sure that to put all of your information in the show notes so
Thank
everybody
you.
can reach out to you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah. Great interview, by the way. You do it very well.
Thank you.